The fluorescent lights of the Norfolk Naval Inspection Bay hummed softly as sailors shuffled into formation, but the room fell nearly silent the moment Lieutenant Commander Elise Ward stepped inside. Her uniform was crisp, spotless, every ribbon perfectly aligned, yet the air around her felt sharper, heavier, as if she carried a storm underneath the fabric. She had returned from a classified deployment just 72 hours earlier, still carrying the faint scent of jet fuel and desert dust. Most people didn't know who she really was. Most assumed she was simply a quiet, competent officer with an unusually calm posture. Only a handful inside the Pentagon understood the truth, that Elise Ward was one of the Navy's most decorated clandestine operatives, the kind sent into missions so sensitive that her name never appeared on award rosters. Admiral Creighton entered next, his polished shoes echoing like a judge's gavel. He had a reputation for being harsh, but today something about him was different, an edge of irritation, like he'd already decided someone was guilty before the trial even began. Elise sensed it immediately. His eyes landed on her with the intensity of someone staring at a problem. The sailors stiffened. She didn't move. He walked straight toward her, stopping only inches away. "Lieutenant Commander Ward," he said, voice tight, "I've received a report regarding irregularities in your uniform and conduct." "Step forward." She did, shoulders relaxed, hands behind her back. Her heartbeat didn't change. The Admiral circled her, slow, scrutinizing. Then he suddenly raised his voice so the entire room could hear. "Take off your uniform." Gasps rippled across the sailors. Elise's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Sir," she said, calm but dangerous. "You heard me," the Admiral snapped. "If what I've been told is true, you're wearing unauthorized gear. Remove the jacket." Most sailors looked away, terrified of what was happening. It wasn't just humiliating, it was illegal. No admiral had the right to demand that of an officer in public. But Elise didn't react the way he expected. Instead, she smirked, subtle, sharp, the kind of smile that preceded disaster for someone. "Admiral," she said quietly, "you just made the biggest mistake of your career." His face reddened. "Is that a threat, Lieutenant Commander?" "No, sir," she answered, her voice low but clear enough to cut through the silence. "It's a fact." She unbuttoned the top clasp of her jacket. The fabric shifted just enough to reveal the edge of a hidden patch, a patch no one in the room had clearance to see. The Admiral froze mid-breath. His eyes widened, color draining from his cheeks. Only then did the sailors realize something was dreadfully wrong. Because that patch wasn't unauthorized. It was restricted, and the only people who wore it, technically didn't exist. Elise held his gaze steadily. The smirk remained, cool and lethal. "Sir," she said softly, "before I remove anything else, I suggest you check the classification level of the report you think you read." The Admiral stepped back. The room shook in silence. The Admiral's step backward was small, but in a room where every sailor stood frozen, it echoed louder than a shouted command. Elise felt the tension shift, like pressure leaving a sealed chamber, as he realized he had crossed a line he didn't even understand. Her fingers paused on the second button of her jacket, deliberately slow, measuring every heartbeat in the bay. She had no intention of removing anything else, but she wanted him to feel that razor-edge uncertainty. And he did. His throat tightened visibly as he glanced around, suddenly aware of the dozens of witnesses who had seen him order something that could bury a career. "Lieutenant Commander," he began, but his voice cracked. "Where did you get authorization for that insignia?" Elise kept her gaze steady, unwavering. "Authorization came directly from Strategic Command, sir. Level 7 clearance. If the report you mentioned said otherwise, then someone fed you a lie." Murmurs spread through the formation. Strategic Command Level 7 wasn't just high, it was nearly mythical. Even most admirals didn't operate at that tier. Elise watched his pupils dilate, watched fear mix with confusion as his brain tried to reconcile the woman standing in front of him with whatever he thought he knew. She folded her hands neatly behind her back. "Sir, I respectfully request you clarify who made the report." The Admiral shifted, glancing at a senior chief lingering near the door. The man straightened defensively. Elise caught it instantly, the quick dart of the Admiral's eyes, the chief's stiff posture. So that was it. Someone inside the command wanted her discredited. And whoever it was had convinced the Admiral to become the mouthpiece. The Admiral swallowed. "Chief Harmon received a complaint regarding unusual items found in your gear during post-deployment inspection." "I see," Elise said softly. "But my gear was not inspected by anyone in this command. It never even made it to Norfolk." It was transferred directly to the classified storage facility at Fort Bragg. She turned her head slightly, speaking just loud enough for everyone to hear. So, sir, how exactly did he inspect something he never had access to? The chief went pale. The Admiral stiffened. A ripple of unease spread through the ranks. Elise stepped forward, not aggressive, but precise, confident, every movement reminding them she was trained to operate in places where mistakes meant death, not paperwork. Admiral, if someone claimed possession of my classified equipment, that means we're dealing with a breach. A serious one. The Admiral's voice thinned. Breach. Yes, sir. Elise locked eyes with him. And now you've ordered a public removal of a uniform tied to a restricted assignment. We'll have to notify Strategic Command immediately. She paused. They will ask why you issued that order. Fear flooded his expression. He knew exactly what that meant. Elise rebuttoned her jacket slowly, the smirk returning. Sir, you didn't make a mistake with me. She leaned in just enough for only him to hear. Someone made a fool out of you. Then she straightened, faced the room, and said calmly, Admiral, I request permission to initiate a full investigation. This time, he didn't hesitate. Permission, granted.